राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरवनचारी। यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुनतीरवनचारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुनतीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जगन्नाथ जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल 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 हरि बोल। हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्दिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। चेतोदर्पणमार्जुनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापणं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधुजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नापनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनं नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तेस् तत्रार्पिताः नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृप भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशमिह जानिनानुरागः त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानियान मानदेन कीर्तन्य सदा हरिः न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिरहैतुकित्वयि आयनं दतनूज किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे बहाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं खत्खदरुदया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रावृषायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लीषवापादरतं पिनष्टु माम् आदर्शनान् मर्महतं करोतु वा
Yatha tatha vidadatulam pato mat prananatastu sayevana paraha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayite girim. Yat krupatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Shri Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Pavitro Pavitro Vasarva Vastam Gato Piva Yasmaret Pundari Kaksham Sabhya Yabhyam Taram Suchi Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu. Hare Krishna. Thank you all, Prabhuji and Matajis, for joining the discussion today. Devata Prabhu, I think it's Shilpa Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Lilananda Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you for joining. In spite of your busy schedule and the sessions that you are doing, so you choose to join. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Nirupama Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Raghunandan Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srisha Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Giriraj Prabhu, thanks for joining. Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, thanks for joining and showering your blessings from America. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Subhara Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Vanilla Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for joining. So, Prabhuji and Mataji, so before today, I think, we are going to discuss the chapter 13 from 1st to 15th verses of Canto 7. But before starting, I would like to admit something which I have been meditating since morning today while I was doing the Mangalarti and chanting. Right, in our busy life, we want to do a lot of things, I'm sure. Right, we want to progress in spirituality. We want to do our personal sadhana. We want to read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada books, or whatever it is. Right, but my realization specifically on this is, personally, though I want to do a lot, but unfortunately, because we are drowning in the material ocean, so for some reason we are unable to do it. Right, I am unable to do it. I will not say we. I'm sorry for that. I am unable to do it because I'm drowning in the material ocean and a lot of things that we want to do, and somehow it's been very struggling days to cross the Maya, right, and open scriptures or hear a lecture or whatever it is. But I found that, this is a wonderful opportunity, though it is a little bit of pushing myself, to be very honest. But, I realized that, it is a wonderful opportunity because through this platform, at least I'm opening Bhagavatam. But otherwise, it's very, very difficult for me personally to open Bhagavatam and read at least one verse from Bhagavatam. Right. So I'm considering myself as very, very fortunate that, this opportunity comes to me perhaps once in a month or 1.5 or once in 1.5 month, and which will enable me at least to open Bhagavatam and read few verses and purports of Srila Prabhupada. So that's what I was being meditating. So otherwise it's really difficult to open Bhagavatam unless there is a push. I personally don't think I'll be able to open Bhagavatam or complete it in at least in my lifetime. I don't know. Maybe Krishna gives me that kind of push from behind and mercy to read at least Bhagavatam once in my lifetime. So I would like to thank His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji for designing this kind of platform, and Her Grace Shilpa Mataji enabling it, right, and continuously working tirelessly to ensure that everything is set up in place and personal follow-ups and all those things. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for that. So with that, what I want to do is I just want to share my screen and maybe we will just start. So before that, I would like to ask forgiveness from all of you if I do any mistakes. Right, Bhagavatam is such a nourishable nectar that I don't think I'll be able to do any justice to it. So if I do any mistakes, right? And today's verses of Canto 7, chapter 13 is purely about a sannyasi, right? How is an order of a sannyasi? What is the behavioral aspects of sannyasi? And I don't think a person at my level can actually absorb that kind of nectar and actually, discuss this. And I don't even talk about, I don't even say about, talking or anything like that, at least to discuss, right? But we will try to read few purports of Prabhupada and see, what is Prabhupada is trying to explain us through this beautiful chapter, right? So if I do any mistakes, please forgive me and kindly all of you put me in your prayers. Hare Krishna. So I've just shared my screen. So Mataji, are you able to see the screen? Is everything okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Haribol. So the behavioral aspects of a behavior of a perfect person, so chapter 13 of Canto 7, where we are still in the overall pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, and where Narada Muni is explaining this. So the first half of the chapter, what we are going to discuss today, from verse 1 to verse 15, is primarily about a sannyasi, right? Different ashramas, right? All the verses talks about different ashramas and how a sannyas ashrama is very important and how one should lead a sannyas ashrama, right? And what is the importance of sannyas ashrama? The introduction is giving because Prahlad Maharaj is going to meet a very, very noble and auspicious sannyasi, right? In the second half of this chapter. Of course, there are few verses covered from the chapter in this today's session as well. But primarily it is not, because it's going to come perhaps maybe, tomorrow, right? But today we are going to discuss fundamentally, it's a large portion of this chapter or this verses that we're going to discuss today is about the order of a sannyasi. What are the principles of a sannyasi? And then maybe few verses we will discuss about Prahlad Maharaj meeting that sannyasi and what kind of austerity that is performing and what is he doing. Right. So that's the high level introduction of this chapter, the behavior of a perfect person. Right. So let's go text by text. I will read the first verse and translation and purport. Maybe from the next verse, then probably some of you we can all read together. Right. Shri Narada Uvacha Kalpastva evam parivaryaja deha matravasheshitaha kramaika ratra vidhina nirapekshascharein mahim. Translation. Sri Narada Muni said, a person able to cultivate spiritual knowledge should renounce all material connections and merely keeping the body inhabitable, he should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. In this way, without dependence in regard to the needs of the body, the sannyasi should travel all over the world. Right? So Narada Muni is explaining how a sannyasi should eat, live, and travel. Right? So there are a couple of references given here. Right? It is said that they should only eat twice a day. Right? And travel from place to place just to keep the body. Right? The eating should also be just to keep the body, right, inhabitable. Right? And it is said that a sannyasi cannot live more than one night in each village. So it said he should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. That means if a sannyasi is in Hyderabad today, tomorrow he should not be in Hyderabad. That's what it says. He should be in a different city. Primarily, the reason behind saying or giving this kind of knowledge is that sannyasi should be able to travel as much as possible in order to spread Krishna consciousness. It's not anything else. It's not for an entertainment, right? The inherent reason for this is basically to travel to as many as places possible. And the only reason for that should be spreading the Krishna consciousness. In the later verses of this chapter, we will also see some understanding given by Srila Prabhupada, right, on how is it different and how one should really take this. Because as we see, some of them, we might have some questions on, then how is it possible that some of the sannyasis, we see that, they are in some villages for a couple of days, right, or a couple of months, right, or whenever they are on travel. It's not that every day they're going to travel from place to place, right? They might be at one place for a couple of days too. But Prabhupada explains in the later part of this chapter, the intention is to spread Krishna consciousness. So if a person is genuinely intending to spread Krishna consciousness, then time, place, circumstances might change or differ for a person, even for that matter, dressing. So Prabhupada says it is not necessarily to wear a robe, right? When you have that kind of intention to spread Krishna consciousness, right? That's exactly what, we see as a example by order in ISKCON, that, Srila Prabhupada has shown that as an example, led with an example to all of us, right? He's traveled all over the world in spite of so many dependencies, in spite of his ill health, lot of health complications, right? He traveled all over the world till his last breath on this material planet. He was committed to spread Krishna consciousness. We all know that. I don't need to explain this separately, right? So that means a great Bhagavata like Srila Prabhupada has exactly shown how the scriptures asked us to live by an example, right? It's not some hypothetical situations, not at all, right? He lived the way Bhagavatam asked us to live, setting as an example for all of us, right? Hare Krishna. Anyone want to read this translation?
Krishna Prabhu, can I read the second one?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, can hear you, Prabhu.
The second one, Canto 7, chapter 13, the behavior of perfect person, text 2. A person in the renounced order of life may try to avoid even a dress to cover himself. If he wears anything at all, it should be only a loincloth. And when there is no necessity, a sannyasi should not even accept a danda. A sannyasi should avoid carrying anything but a danda and a kamandal. Correct. Want me to go next over? That's it.
We'll just discuss on this translation,
Okay.
then we can do this. Right? Then we can go into the next verse. Yeah. So it is very clearly said, some of them might ask what kind of sannyasi you are not even carrying a danda. But Bhagavatam itself is giving us reference. It is not really required. There is no necessity. Because if your intention is to spread Krishna consciousness, then your outside appearance may not really matter. Worst case, this particular verse gives us an understanding that a sannyasi should not carry anything apart from danda and kamandalu. Right? If it is not even necessary, right? If you are going to a place where it might be difficult to carry, and you're going to that place only because that you want to spread Krishna consciousness, then it is a clear indication that even a danda can be avoided, if not necessarily, right? That's where we see as an example, right? Initially, my personal experience, when I came into, spirituality, when I started following ISKCON, right? This doubt I always had in mind. And some of my relatives and friends also asked me this question, right? Because sannyasa means you'll have to have tridanda, right? Because technically what they have seen outside world, every sannyasi will carry a tridanda by default. It'll be in their hand all the time, right? But these were a lot of questions posted that why don't we see a lot of sannyasis here carrying danda or tridanda? Some of them do carry, but what about a lot of others? We don't see them, right? Bhagavatam gives a clear understanding of that. If it is not necessary, then it is not even required. It is not even required to accept it, right? If the intention is to spread Krishna consciousness, the focus of sannyasi is more on spreading Krishna consciousness, but not on material appearance. That's the understanding that we are getting from Srimad Bhagavatam here. Hare Krishna. Yeah, verse 13.3. One of you can read this.
The sannyasi, completely satisfied in the self, should live on aim, begging from door to door,
alms begged.
being dependent on any person or any place. He should always be a friendly well-wisher to all living beings and be a peaceful, unalloyed devotee of Narayana. In this way, he should move from one place to another.
Haribol. The Bhagavad Gita also provides a clear understanding for us. In 6th chapter, Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, I think, sorry, 5th chapter, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Swinichaiva Svapakacha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Very, very clear understanding. So the Pandita, that means a great scholar, will have an equal vision of everyone. Right? There is no bias. Right? Even a dog eater, an elephant, right? A cow, they have an equal vision of everyone, because they look Krishna inside, sitting as a super soul inside every body or every living entity. There's no discrimination. That's exactly what Bhagavatam is also telling here, right? A person should have a well-wisher to all, should be a friend to all the well-wishers, all the living beings, right? And he says, such unalloyed, peaceful devotee, only such people can be a devotee of Narayana. In 18th chapter also, Krishna says, Brahma bhutaha prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So my devotee will have such kind of qualities. And one of the qualities is Samaha bhute sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu means treating every living entity equally, with an equal vision, not a biased vision. Right? Very clearly telling. It is also said that a sannyasi is completely satisfied inside. Right? Is completely satisfied. And he's not even care what should he eat, one should eat. He might go, begging from a door to door just to keep his body active, but not to satisfy the material desires or tongue. Right? Verse 4, yes, one of you can read this. Yeah, okay, I'll read that. The sannyasi should always try to see the supreme pervading everything and see everything, including this universe, resting on supreme. Right? Krishna himself says, Mattaha parataram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Everything is resting on me. Like the pearls are resting on the thread. Right? The entire universe is resting on me. And God himself is declaring that. Right? And there is no truth above him. Right? So it is also said that a sannyasi should have a quality to see that everything in this universe is resting on the Supreme Lord. Right? Where he himself telling actually that everything is resting on me. I mean, there is no debate on that. Right? It's pretty straightforward and simple. Right? When God himself is telling that everything is resting on me, a pure sannyasi, a pure devotee, all he need to do is just have faith and just go with the word of the Lord. Right? Everything is resting on him. Yeah, 5. Yeah, now the purports will start. Yes. One of you want to read this? Prabhuji and Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. I can read.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. During unconsciousness and consciousness, and between the two, he should try to understand the self and be fully situated in the self. In this way, he should realize that the conditional and liberated stages of life are only illusory and not actually factual. With such higher understanding, he should see only the absolute truth pervading everything. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Can I continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Yeah. The unconscious state is nothing but ignorance, darkness, or material existence. And in the conscious state, one is awake. The marginal state between consciousness and unconsciousness has no permanent existence. Therefore, one who is advanced in understanding the self should understand that unconsciousness and consciousness are but illusions, for they fundamentally do not exist. Only the Supreme Absolute Truth exists. As confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tadam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham te shvavastitaha. By me, in my unlimited form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Everything exists on the basis of Krishna's impersonal feature. Nothing can exist without Krishna. Therefore, the advanced devotee of Krishna can see the Lord everywhere without illusion. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Thank you, Prabhu. In second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yanisha sarva bhutanam yasyam jagarti samyami. Yasyam jagarti samyami sanisha pashyato muneha. Right? There is an ignorance, there is darkness, and there is a light too. At the time the entire ignorant people are sleeping, self-realized soul will awake. Right? And when the self-realized soul is in the light, the material people or ignorant souls are in the darkness. Right? The simple example, right? What it, most of the time that I quote in my classes as well, right? A material person will go for parties till midnight, clubbing, whatever it is, right? Come home and sleep at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock perhaps in the morning. But a spiritual person gets up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, get prepared and do a Mangalarti, right? That is the difference between darkness and the light, ignorant and self-lightened. So that's exactly what Prabhupada is trying to explain, right? It is consciousness and unconsciousness, right? However, Prabhupada also says that whether it is consciousness or unconsciousness, everything is temporary, right? Because ultimately we will have to go back to Krishna, right? That's all part of the material world, right? The only supreme absolute truth is existing. That's where also talks about Krishna's unmanifested form. Because as far as the God is concerned, whether it is manifestation, unmanifestation form, whatever it is, he is the source of all, right? He's the source of everything, whether it is a unmanifested or a manifested form. This is very clearly confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi pratistaham amrutasya vayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya kantikasya cha. Right? He is the basis of that, right? Whether it is unmanifested or a manifested form, does not matter, right? Somebody thinks that Krishna is God is unmanifested, right? But it is not. He's not unmanifested. He actually has a form. He's manifested, right? That's what he clearly says, right, in the 9th chapter, right? He clearly said that when I descend to this world in my human form, people think that I am unmanifested. Now I am getting into manifestation form, then I will go back to my unmanifested form. That's not true, right? That's not true at all. Krishna has a form all the time, right? Yeah. Number 6. Yeah, one of you can read this. Yes, ma'am.
Translation. Since the material body is sure to be vanquished and the duration of one's life is not fixed, neither death nor life is to be praised. Rather, one should observe the eternal time factor in which the living entity manifests himself and disappears. Purpose. The living entities in the material world, not only at the present but also in the past, have been involved in trying to solve the problem of birth and death. Some stress death and point to the illusionary existence of everything material, whereas others stress life, trying to preserve it perpetually and enjoy it to the best of their ability. Both of them are fools and rascals. It is advised that one observe the eternal time factor, which is the cause of the material body's appearance and disappearance, and that one observe the living entity's entanglement in this time factor. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura therefore sings in this Gitavali, Anadikarama Pale Pade Bhavarnavajale Tare Bare Na Deki Upaya. One should observe the activities of eternal time, which is the cause of birth and death. Before the creation of the present millennium, the living entities were under the influence of the time factor, and within the time factor, the material world comes into existence and is again annihilated. Bhutva praliyate. Being under the control of the time factor, the living entities appear and die. Life after life, this time factor is the impersonal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gives the living entities conditioned by material nature a chance to emerge from this nature by surrendering to Him. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. More or less a self-explanatory purport and translation, right? So, we all know that, right? The life is not fixed, right? There's no guarantee. A person who takes birth will have to die, and the person who dies will have to take birth unless one is liberated. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita as well. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityor dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmada pariharyate natvam shochitum arhasi. It's a matter of time. It's a temporary arrangement. Krishna says that why one should worry about this temporary arrangement, but focus on your higher purpose. Right? That's exactly, Prabhupada is trying to explain from this, right? We are in the material world and we are bound by time. The time himself is Krishna. In 11th chapter, Krishna says, Kaloshmi aham, I am the time, right? Yeah. Number 7.
Hare
One or
Krishna.
two.
Can I
Hare.
read?
Yes.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Literature that is useless, waste of time. In other words, literature without spiritual benefit should be rejected. One should not become a professional teacher as means of earning one's livelihood, nor should one indulge in arguments and counter-arguments, nor should one take shelter of any cause or faction. Purport. A person desiring to advance in spiritual understanding should be extremely careful to avoid reading ordinary literature. The world is full of ordinary literature that creates unnecessary agitation of the mind. Such literature, including newspapers, dramas, novels, and magazines, is factually not meant for advancement in spiritual knowledge. Indeed, it has been described as a place of enjoyment for the crows, tad vayasam tirtham. Anyone advancing in spiritual knowledge must reject such literature. Furthermore, one should not concern oneself with the conclusions of various logicians or philosophers. Of course, those who preach sometimes need to argue with the Prabhu, can you please scroll? Need to argue with the contentions of opponents, but as much as possible, one should avoid an argumentative attitude. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya says, Aprayojana paksham na samsrayet, na prayojana pakshasyan, na vrita sishya bhandakrit, na chodasina sastrani, na viruddhani chabhyaset, na vyakhyopya जीवेत न निषादन समाचरेत एवं भूतो यतिर्यति तदेक शरणो हरिम. Please scroll. There is no need to take shelter of unnecessary literature or concern oneself with many so-called philosophers and thinkers who are useless for spiritual advancement. Nor should one accept a disciple for the sake of fashion or popularity. One should be callous to these so-called shastras, neither opposing nor favoring them. And one should not earn one's livelihood by taking money for explaining Shastra. A sannyasi must always be neutral and seek the means to advance in spiritual life, taking full shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So we'll spend maybe, a few minutes on this particular verse because it is very, very important and what we are seeing actually in the current society, right? So all this what Prabhupada has mentioned in this purport, right, is what we are seeing is happening in today's society, right? The more of this materialistic scriptures or not scriptures, materialistic newspapers or magazines or novels or whatever you call today has become more popular than the spiritual, right? Some useless publication will be having the bestseller But the scripture like Bhagavad Gita will have to be spreaded or sold on the roads, because nobody is coming to temples or nobody is willing to learn Bhagavad Gita. Right? A lot of people might have concerns and questions that, why is ISKCON people selling Bhagavad Gitas on road, distributing this kind of scriptures on road? Yes, because nobody is coming into the temple, right? And it is required for the world. What is the point of reading unnecessary and, lousy, the crime novels or, fictional novels and all those things, right? When we don't even understand what is the basics of Bhagavad Gita and what God is trying to tell us, right? And Prabhupada has written this almost about 45 years back approximately. And in those days itself, this kind of overall situation is there. And it's only getting worse by worse day by day. Right? We are not seeing any improvement in that. Right? So I was actually talking to, this is again my personal experience. I was actually talking to one of the known person. And the way, we were discussing is how fortunate we are that we got connected to ISKCON and we are reading the scriptures which are written by Srila Prabhupada. It could be Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Because today in market, Prabhuji and Matajis, or in the society anywhere, there is no genuinity in terms of the scriptures that we are reading. Right? So many false philosophies spreading false propagandas everywhere. Right? And this person was telling me, as his personal experience, which he has observed in his own family, there's one person, unfortunately, in his family, has completely tracked off because of this false philosophies that he's reading through books written by some mundane interpreters, who's not bona fide, who's not authorized to write any scriptures or compile any scriptures. Right? More than genuine scriptures or genuine publications in today's world, there are many false scriptures which are easily available in the market. The genuine ones are not easily available, right? Because we'll have to go and search for them, right? That is how unfortunate it is. And that's the reason, Srila Prabhupada says here, one should not get attracted. And somebody who want to progress spiritually should not even get into this mundane interpretations or this material newspapers, novels, magazines, or anything like that, because they only tend to deviate us. It is very easy to get distracted by reading such kind of novels, right? Because they're all material. They propagate false propagandas, right? False information, no genuinity, no authority, no reference, nothing. They just post just like that, right? There are a lot of such philosophies which explains, all nonsense things basically, right? I'm sorry to use that word, but today's world is like that. And there is no source for where they're writing those things. Somebody tells that, somebody came in the dream, they told and they wrote. How can that be a bona fide scripture? Just, somebody got to know in the dream and they have written it. Right? Very unfortunate situation. So we should consider ourselves are very fortunate that, we are connected to ISKCON and we are reading the scriptures which are written by a bona fide spiritual master who's coming in the parampara, the Guru Parampara, not an ordinary person. And a consolidation of several scriptures and several explanations given by several acharyas. Right? If you see this purport itself, right? Prabhupada explains what Srila Madhvacharya has told in regard to this particular verse. But if you read the Bhagavatam as is, we might not have this understanding. Right? The compilations of different acharyas are consolidated. That's the greatness. Right? Hare Krishna. Yeah, number 8. One of you want to read this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A sannyasi must not present allurements of material benefits to gather many disciples, nor should he unnecessarily read many books or give discourses as a means of livelihood. He must never attempt to increase material opulences unnecessarily. Should I continue with the purport? Purport: so-called swamis and yogis generally make disciples by alluring them with material benefits. There are many so-called gurus who attract disciples by promising to cure their diseases or increase their material opulence by manufacturing gold. These are lucrative allurements for unintelligent men. A sannyasi is prohibited from making disciples through such material allurements. Sannyasis sometimes indulge in material opulences by unnecessarily constructing many temples and monasteries, but actually such endeavors should be avoided. Temples and monasteries should be constructed for the preaching of spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, not to provide free hotels for persons who are useful for neither material nor spiritual purposes. Temples and monasteries should be strictly off limits to worthless clubs of crazy men. In the Krishna consciousness movement, we welcome everyone who agrees at least to follow the movement's regulative principles: no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. In the temples and monasteries, gatherings of unnecessary, rejected, lazy fellows should be strictly disallowed. The temples and monasteries should be used exclusively by devotees who are serious about spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura explains the word Arambhan as meaning Mathadi Vyaparan, which means attempts to construct temples and monasteries. The first business of the sannyasi is to preach Krishna consciousness, but if, by the grace of Krishna, facilities are available, then he may construct temples and monasteries to give shelter to the serious students of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, such temples and monasteries are not needed. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Again, very intense purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and the kind of purport or a translation which is absolutely a reflection of today's society, right? So we are seeing that so many fake philosophers and fake sannyasis who call themselves as sannyasis, but they are not, right? Who are indulged in so many kinds of material opulences just to allure or attract disciples, right? They go all over, they build big what do you call, the societies or buildings, or very attractive, with all luxuries and all those things, just to attract people, right? Absolutely, it's not required. Srila Prabhupada very clearly explains, if the purpose of building such things is not to spread Krishna consciousness, then it is not a right thing of doing it, right? But unfortunately, we are seeing that such kind of culture is increasing in society today. Just to allure people, just to show that, oh, he's a big man, he's a big sannyasi. So many people come to him, big, thousands of hundreds of acres of lands, big constructions, big opulent festivals and all those things, right? And music nights and all those things, just to attract and allure some people. But the actual intention is not to spread the God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. It is just to, it is unfortunately has become a successful business model, right? It's very unfortunate to say that, right? And Prabhupada, again, telling about this about, 4 decades back, right? Hare Krishna. 9. One of you can read this. Okay, I'll read this. Translation: a peaceful, acupist person who is factually advanced in spiritual consciousness does not need to accept the symbols of a sannyasi, such as the Tridanda and Kamandalu. According to necessity, he may sometimes accept those symbols and sometimes reject them, which we have also discussed in the earlier verses of this chapter, right? But Prabhupada gives a clear understanding through his purport here, right? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. There are 4 stages of renounced order of life: Kuchika, Bahudaka, Parivrajakacharya, and Paramahamsa. Here in Srimad Bhagavatam considers the Paramahamsas among the sannyasis. The Mayavadi impersonalist sannyasis cannot attain the Paramahamsa stage. This is because of their impersonal conception of the absolute truth. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti sabdyate. The absolute truth is perceived in 3 stages, of which Bhagavan, or realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is meant for Paramahamsas. Indeed, Srimad Bhagavatam itself is meant for Paramahamsas. Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam. Unless one is in the Paramahamsa stage, he is not eligible to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. For Paramahamsas or Sannyasis in the Vaishnava order, preaching is the first duty. To preach, such sannyasis may accept the symbols of sannyasa, such as the danda and kamandalu, or sometimes they may not. Generally, the Vaishnava sannyasis, being Paramahamsas, are automatically called Babajis, and they do not carry a kamandalu or danda. Such a sannyasi is free to accept or reject the marks of sannyasa. His only thought is, where is an opportunity to spread the Krishna consciousness? Sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement sends its representative sannyasis to foreign countries where the danda and kamandalu are not very much appreciated. We send our preachers in ordinary dress to introduce our books and philosophy. Our only concern is to attract people to Krishna consciousness. We may do this in the dress of sannyasi or in the regular dress of a gentleman. Our only concern is to spread interest in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada is very, very straightforward and clear, right? There is no apprehensions, there are no discussions or confusions on this, right? A main job of a sannyasi, right, or main rule of a sannyasi is to spread Krishna consciousness, right? That's his main agenda. It should not be anything else, right? And in order to spread Krishna consciousness, do whatever it takes. Ena kena prakarena. Simple, right? In 9th chapter, Krishna says, Yat karoshi, yat yashnasi, yat juhosi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mat arpanam. Whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever you work that you are performing, perform as an offering to me. If you are doing that as an offering to me, you will not be bonded by material clutches and you will be breaking the bond, right? So it is very, very clearly given by Krishna, right? Whatever you do it as an offering to me, right? In again 8th chapter, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu bhuteshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mai arpita mano buddhir mam eva swaisi asamshayaha. He's telling to Arjuna, Tasmat sarveshu bhuteshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Always, unconditionally, uninterruptedly worship me and perform your duty. Duty of Arjuna is to basically to fight at that point of time. So that is a message to all of us. Whatever you want to perform, right, do it as an offering to me, right? As a result, you will not be bonded by the karma or the material clutches. That's exactly what this verse is explaining. Srila Prabhupada is explaining, right? A sannyasi, just for the sake of physical appearance, need not carry kamandalu and tridanda if that is obstructing him to spread Krishna consciousness. The main concern is to spread Krishna consciousness. And even if it takes to reject kamandalu or danda, tridanda, which is still okay, it is acceptable. Because they should not be an obstacle to spread Krishna consciousness. And even if a sannyasi will have to go in a normal suit or a trouser or whatever it is as a gentleman, it is still okay because the intention is to spread Krishna consciousness. Therefore, there is no problem, right? That's what, a lot of us do, right, Prabhuji and Mataji, right? When we go for the college preaching and all those things, unfortunately, certain rituals that we follow or certain dress codes that we follow, right, may not be accepted widely. But we still try to go and spread Krishna consciousness, right? Maybe a little bit of making the changes of our dressing or the way we look and all those things. Because the intention is to spread Krishna consciousness, not anything else. Therefore, it is perfectly accepted, right? If you put Krishna in the center, everything will fall in place.
Hare Krishna, Dasraj Prabhuji. With your permission, I would like to add a little.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. There is an amazing Vaishnava in our ISKCON Prabhuji called His Holiness Bhakti Vigna Vinashaka Narsingha Maharaj, very old man.
Okay.
He mainly preaches in China, Prabhuji. China, Malaysia, all these areas.
Okay. Okay.
And if they catch that a sannyasi preaching this Hindu philosophy in China, there is a straight execution. You know about China. And
Yes.
Maharaj still goes. He goes in a very nice suit, and I'm sorry to say, but he looks like so amazing in that suit also, Prabhuji. The Maharaja's aura is so big. And then he goes and he started putting the seeds there. Now China has thousands of devotees, Prabhuji, who are like amazing to see, simply, because if the government catches up that they are practicing this, that's a big thing. But they don't care for lives. And 60 of them comes for Janmashtami in Malaysia. And their singing of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is different. They cannot say Ra, Prabhuji. In place of Ra, they say La. Hare Krishna, like that. That is so wonderful for the heart to see, Prabhuji. So that, I think that example is apt in this context. Maharaja wears the normal gentleman clothes and goes, but he does what he has to do. And in such a place, he makes devotees, Prabhuji.
Haribol. I'm sure there are a lot of such great Vaishnavas and sannyasis in our movement, Prabhuji. That's where, Krishna consciousness movement is spreading very well. I'm sure this is a sacrifice and great work of all such great souls. Panchakalpatarupyasya kripa sindhu.
Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
I'm sure without such great souls, we would have not been here and doing what we are. And what we are doing is nothing, right? Such great souls are not even caring for their lives, and they are traveling all across. There are a lot of different places, unfortunately, on this earth where we can't even take the word of God, right? We can't even utter the name of God. Unfortunately, there are a lot of countries. And we are very, very fortunate to take birth in Bhartakanda, where we don't have such kind of restrictions here. Very, very, very fortunate. Right. I'm sure. Thank you, Raghunandan Prabhu, for bringing this. Hare Krishna. Number 10. One of you want to read this?
I can read, Prabhuji, if nobody wants to. Hare Krishna. Although a saintly person may not expose himself to the vision of human society, by his behavior, his purpose too is disclosed. To human society, he should present himself like a restless child. And although he is the greatest thoughtful orator, he should present himself like a dumb man. Hare Krishna. Purport. A great personality, very much advanced in Krishna consciousness, may not expose himself by the signs of a sannyasi. To cover himself, he may live like a restless child or a dumb person, although he is the greatest orator or poet. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. This is the humbleness of a devotee again, right? And we see one of the great references for such kind of a person in Srimad Bhagavatam itself is a Jadabharata, right? He lived, when he's taken birth again as a Jadabharata, Bharat Maharaj, right? He lived life like a dumb person, exactly what it is mentioned here, right? Because he didn't want the moment he opens his mouth and speaks, people can understand that he must be some highest scholar. Then it might object or it might abstract his sadhana or his service to Supreme Lord and ultimately his aim to liberate. Therefore, he remained and he wanted to remain dumb almost entire his life. Of course, he reveals himself to somebody. I know that, right? But at the end of the day, the lesson that we are trying to get from this particular translation and purport is that a great sannyasi will never open his mouth just like that, right? He prefers to act himself as a dumb man, right? Because he's like even if somebody is blaspheming God, does God really bother? When you know that you are the creator, you are the God, does it really affect him? Right? In the same way, even if somebody a material person is trying to blaspheme a sannyasi, it does not really matter to him because he's renounced all those activities. Right? That's what the understanding that we get from this purport. Yeah. 11. One of you can read this.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by Divine Grace. As a historical example of this, learned sages recite the story of discussion between Prahlad Maharaj and a great saintly person who was feeding him like a python. Purport. The saintly person met by Prahlad Maharaj was undergoing Ajagara Vritti, the living condition of a python, which does not go anywhere but sits in one place for years and eats whatever is automatically available. Prahlad Maharaj, along with his associates, met this great saint and spoke him as follows.
Haribol. So till here, the verses from 1 to 11 verses explains about what is the greatness of a sannyasi or an activities of sannyasi. From here, the actual pastime of Prahlad Maharaj starts. Right? We'll see how it goes. Yeah, 12 and 13. One of you can read this. It's just a translation because it goes like a story.
Prahlad Maharaj, the most dear servitor of Supreme Personality of Godhead, once went out touring the universe with some of his confidential associates just to study the nature of saintly persons. Thus, he arrived at the bank of the Kaveri, where there was a mountain known as Sahya. There he found a great saintly person who was lying on the ground covered with dirt and dust, but who was deeply spiritually advanced.
Hare Krishna. 14. Yeah, one of you can read this. Okay, I'll read that. Neither by that saintly person's activities, by his bodily features, by his words, nor by symptoms of his varnashrama status, could people understand whether he was the same person they had known. But by his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The inhabitants of that particular place of the bank of Kaveri in the valley of mountain known as Sakhya were unable to understand whether that saint was the same man they had known. It is therefore said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vichnena Bhujaya. A highly advanced Vaishnava lives in such a way that no one can understand that he is or what he was. Nor should attempts to be made to understand the past of the Vaishnava. Without asking the saintly person about his previous life, Prahlad Maharaj immediately offered him respectful obeisances. Right? So it is very clearly said that, and we also know that it's a famous saying in ISKCON as well, do not ask a past of the Vaishnava. Right? You never know. Right? It can be good or bad, does not matter. But today what that person is, that is important. Right? Krishna in 9th chapter says, Apite Sudaracharo Bhajate Ma Mananya Bhak Sadhur Eva Samantavya Samyog Vyavasahito Hisha. Even if somebody is committing an abnormal activity, if he is fixed in Krishna consciousness, it should be understood that that person is not a criminal. Of course, that action was performed, an abnormal activity was performed as an effect of the three modes of material nature or whatever it is, which nobody could escape. But ultimately, his faith is fixed and he is studying Krishna consciousness. Therefore, mistakes can be performed, but you cannot judge somebody as a criminal just by one activity. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, a Vaishnava is a Vaishnava, whatever the past is. Because today, that Vaishnava has renounced everything in their lives, right? And steadily progressing in Krishna consciousness and fixed their faith. That is important. Right? That's what Krishna says in 18th chapter, right? The ultimate shloka of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshasyami Mashucha. He himself is saying, do not fear. I am there. I will take care of you. Right? So once you are in Krishna consciousness, you are fixed in Krishna consciousness, and your devotional service is ahaituki apratihata, that means unconditional and uninterrupted, then you don't need to worry. Our well-being is Krishna's responsibility. And he promised us, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupashyate, tesham nityabhayuktanam yoga kshema vaham yaham. He promised that to us very clearly. So it does not matter. So Vaishnava cannot be judged based on the past. Right? That's clear. Right? Hare Krishna. The last translation, verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
The advanced devotee, Prahlad Maharaja, duly worshipped and offered obeisances to the saintly person who had adopted a python's means of livelihood. After thus worshipping the saintly person and touching his own head to the saint's lotus feet, Prahlad Maharaja, in order to understand him, inquired very submissively as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji. So that's the vision or a divine vision of Prahlad Maharaj, right? Even the inhabitants of that particular region who has been seeing this person from very long time did not understand what kind of a person he is. But a Vaishnava can realize. That's the divine vision, right? Immediately Prahlad Maharaj, the moment he saw him, he knew that he is not an ordinary living entity. He is somebody else, right? Therefore, he immediately fell on his feet and offered his obeisances, right? And then he did not even really care, Prabhuji and Mataji, if you see this, he did not really care what kind of a person, who is he, right? Prahlad Maharaj, we know who is Prahlad Maharaj, right? He's not an ordinary human, right? Materialistically, if you see, he's the king of the earth, the complete earth, not for just one kingdom, right? And spiritually, we all know what kind of a devotee he is. Supreme Lord himself appeared for him, right? To protect him, to save him, that kind of a devotee. And that kind of a person, Prahlad Maharaj, fell on the feet of this person without even knowing who is that and why is he here, right? That's the humble nature of a devotee and a divine vision what a person like Prahlad Maharaj has. And it said that, he inquired submissively, right? Again, whatever the inquiry or whatever the clarifications, questions that we are making, it is important that we inquire those things in a very, very submissive manner, right? Bhagavad Gita also confirms this. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sepaya. Upadekshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattva darshinaha. Bhagavad Gita says. Inquire very humbly, very submissively to your Guru. And he will definitely put that knowledge in you because that Guru has seen what is the reality, right? So with that, I think we have another 5 minutes or so. Mataji, should we stop here or can we take maybe another 1 or 2 verses?
No, Prabhuji, we'll continue tomorrow, not an issue.
Okay.
Raghunandan Prabhu will take it next.
No problem, as you order. Hare Krishna. So if there are any questions, I know this chapter is more or less very straightforward and it's like a story. But if there are any clarifications or any discussions, perhaps, right? We can actually discuss for next 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was Pranam Dasraj Prabhuji. Thank you so much. You pretty much concluded in your last 2 sentences, that we should put in a submissive way. It was so wonderful that how you put it in a, so submissive way, the lecture. Though it is straightforward, with the apt verses from Bhagavad Gita, you made it really nice, Prabhuji. I thoroughly, not a correct word to say, but enjoy the lecture, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And wonderful to know that you are, we can see studying Bhagavad Gita like with deep craving for the understanding of the verses, Prabhuji. That is something that I take it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji. Anything, any more questions, any more clarifications, Prabhuji and Matajis? Otherwise, we can probably stop the discussion.
Probably, since nobody asking, I still again take the opportunity.
Sure.
Yes, Prabhuji. How to take up service, Prabhuji, from your experience? I'm not related to this lecture. I want to take service, but this extreme independence and you can say this how you say, Prabhuji, liberal feeling, actually extreme independence, Prabhuji. This is somehow stopping or not allowing services. How one should, cross this Prabhuji. Since I also see you pretty much in a corporate world just 3-4 years ago, Prabhuji, and from that time to now, we see a different Dasraj Prabhuji. From your personal experience, Prabhuji, what layman who is working in IT should take up to the path seriously, Prabhuji, if you can put 1-2 points.
Ravi, thank you for asking this question. I don't think I can answer this question, but perhaps I will tell you what His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji told me
Yes,
initially, I mean, a couple of years back, when he ordered me to start preaching. Right?
Correct.
So, yeah, that's just my reflection, right? And I have continued that message, and I still continue that message and follow whatever Lilananda Prabhuji has told me. So maybe that comes as helping to you. So when he ordered me initially, I was considering myself as, I still consider myself as, I'm very, very new in ISKCON, and I am not that qualified to preach or spread the word of Krishna. It is just by the grace and mercy of the gurus and Gauranga that I'm able to do that. But when I was ordered to start preaching in Aparna community, I was very reluctant, right? Because I never even thought about that. I never even thought that I could preach, right? I was, yes, as an inherent habit, I always have this that I should do something for the Lord, something for the service, because that gives me satisfaction, that gives me happiness. So I was taking up some services we are doing and all those things. But Lilananda Prabhuji said, Prabhuji, yes, you are doing all these services, there is no doubt. But there is a topmost service that you should take up, right? Which is considered as the topmost. I mean, it's not per se, it is a great service or other services are not that great. It's not like that. But the movement where we are in is a preaching movement more than
Yes,
it, right? Therefore, you should take up the preaching activity now. That would be considered as the topmost service by Srila Prabhupada. I said, Prabhuji, what are you talking? I did not even think of that, and I'm not even ready for that. How can I do that? Right? And His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji told me, nobody can do it if you keep thinking throughout your life. Nobody can do that, right? You jump in the swimming pool, and then you will learn swimming, how to do that.
Hare Krishna.
If you want to learn the swimming and then jump, then you will not be able to jump in it throughout your life. It will never happen. I've been, technically, I've been trying to learn swimming throughout my life. I could never learn, right? But Lilananda Prabhuji said, that will never happen, Prabhuji. You jump in the pool, then you will start swimming. You will start learning it. Then I told Prabhuji, of course, I will jump and I will swim. But if I am drowning, please give me your hand. Please pull me out. He said, don't worry. If you are drowning, I will give you the hand and I will pull you up. So till this day, Lilananda Prabhuji is holding my hand and is pulling me up whenever I'm drowning. So I'm still trying to, swim. I'm still struggling. I'm still trying to learn. So that's what, I can tell you, Prabhuji. That's my reflection. So, it is not that, we cannot serve. We can, right? But only thing is, unfortunately, these material things will hold us. So all we need to do is break our comfort zone and come out of it.
That's the exact barrier, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Break your comfort zone. Commit for it.
Yes, I have had a little experience in Oslo, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Once you are in this platform, that you are telling to 10 people that Bhagavad Gita, this and that, and we are very much mindful that, people are watching us and all these things, and that can save a Vaishnava like really big time, Prabhuji. So yes, this barrier is there, Prabhuji. I simply pray to the lotus feet of Vaishnavas and Krishna to, bring out of this thing and have a conviction that we are devotee and we should be like a devotee.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, that's not there today, Prabhuji. I humbly pray, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your inputs, Prabhuji. That helps.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam. Panchadharma Rupya Srupad Nujya Pattanam Bhavanam. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
Jai.
आद की जय।
Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Prabhuji, Pranam. Wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Matli. Thank you all. Dandavat pranams.